Please give it up for Michael E. Gerber.
Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to be here. And yes, it's not 7 o'clock in the morning, which is an ungodly time to talk to anybody about anything. I want to address the subject of entrepreneurship. Of course, I address that subject everywhere I go and have been addressing that subject for 40 years since I founded my very first company when I was 40 years of age. So you understand, I wasn't born an entrepreneur. I wasn't trained as an entrepreneur. I wasn't inspired to be an entrepreneur. I hear all of the stories about I sold candy to the kids when I was in high school, and I've heard all these stories about people who tell me how they were inspired from a very young age to be an entrepreneur. And I wasn't. I was a wandering Jew. Looking for the truth, and looking for the truth wherever I was inspired to look. I was a saxophone player. I was a seller of encyclopedias. I did this and I did that. I framed houses when I was 37 because I wanted to stop working with my mouth and start working with my hands. I soon was disabused of that idealistic thought that working with your hands is more true than working with your mouth. I discovered that, in fact, I was born to talk. And when I talk, it's not me who talks, it talks. And it's discovering it that is, in fact, the true secret behind everything that I've been doing all these years. All of you are probably familiar with my most heralded book, The E-Myth Revisited, Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. I've met tens upon hundreds of thousands of people who have read that book. What always astonishes me is that the vast majority of them have never done that book, meaning they've read it, they were inspired by it, but then they never truly did it. In short, they didn't follow the lesson plan. And understand, the lesson plan is key. Because while Jeff says, don't get lost, in short, follow your heart, I've watched people follow their heart into the most strange and terrible places. You understand, we're moved, we're inspired to do something. But effectively, nobody ever told us that there is a way to do everything. And to discover the way to do everything, moved by your heart, is the key to truly creating extraordinary growth companies. At the heart of it is the entrepreneur. So I want to talk about what an entrepreneur is. In fact, I've written a lot of books, now 31 books. And only in the latest books do I really talk about who the entrepreneur is. Yeah, the entrepreneur is the creator, the entrepreneur is the imagineer, the entrepreneur is the one who, et cetera, and we all know that. But the entrepreneur is something significantly and clearly definable. And you can discover every single one of your problems when you discover the absence of the 4 critical personalities within a true entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs aren't born, they're made. So you understand, everybody can awaken the entrepreneur within them. Everybody. I believe this as I believe anything. Every single human being on the planet can truly awaken the entrepreneur within. Once they're inspired to do it, once they're taught to do it, once they're trained to do it, once they're coached to do it, once they're mentored to do it. Now, I just defined the 5 essential functions that reside at the heart of every great enterprise. Inspiration, education, application, implementation, and continuous improvement. You get that? Effectively, when you own a company, those 5 essential functions must exist within your company, but not sort of, in absolutely one way. Not my way, you understand, your way. And so inspiration creates an epiphany. Education creates understanding. Application creates an experience. Implementation creates the knowing that's required to replicate that experience throughout every single person in your enterprise. You understand what I'm saying? An entrepreneur is 4 distinct personalities. The first is the dreamer. The second is the thinker. The third is the storyteller. And the fourth is the leader. An entrepreneur is a dreamer, a thinker, a storyteller, a leader. The dreamer has a dream. The thinker has a vision. The storyteller has a purpose. And the leader has a mission, which essentially says that every single company in this room must be founded upon a dream, explicitly stated, a vision, explicitly understood, a purpose, explicitly expressed daily, and a mission, which is the operating reality of every single company in the world. That is the system. So I want to talk about the dream, the vision, the purpose, the mission, just so that you can understand best what all of my books really lead to. Our job is to transform the state of economic development worldwide. Do you understand? In our government, everybody says it's all about jobs. Hear me, it ain't all about jobs. It's all about creation. It's all about the creation of an evolution that frankly sits at the heart of the American dream. At the heart of the American dream, what America is that no other country on the planet ever has become is a dream, a vision, a purpose, and a mission. The dream of America, the vision of America, the purpose of America, the mission of America. We've forgotten all that. We don't teach that in our schools. We don't teach that in our schools because nobody who's teaching in our schools understands what a dream, a vision, a purpose, and a mission are. Because nobody has taught them that in their schools. Because we've forgotten what the American dream really is. Truthfully forgotten it. And it's important to understand this is not political. Do you understand? Politics is the handmaiden of stupid people. This is not political. This is existential. Hear me. This is not political. This is existential. And this is absolutely existential to every company in this room. Because every company in this room created with a dream, a vision, a purpose, and a mission, suddenly understand that your job, just as my job, is to transform the state of whatever you're delivering to whomever you're delivering it in a way that nobody has ever figured out how to do that before. That's your job. That's our job. That's the American dream. That's what's so extraordinary about this country. That's why 4,000, 7,000 people are coming in a mob to get into America. Why do you think everybody wants to be in America? And what do you think they're trying to do to America to destroy the American dream? To, in fact, make us global. Hear me, we're not global. We are absolutely original. And we're original because of the original dream that was settled way back then in the beginning, at the beginning of our country, who we are, why we're here, what we're here to do. We're creating a remarkable new world. So understand, I think of that every time I think of any one of you. Anytime I speak to anybody who is dreaming about creating a company of their own, anybody who has actually done that, created a company of his or her own, I'm saying you have to go beyond where you are. You have to go beyond where you are. You have to go back to the founders. Hear me. You have to go back to the founders. You have to go back to the beginning of America. You have to go back and ask yourself, what's your Bill of Rights? What's your Constitution? What do you believe in? Why do you believe in it? Why is it so important? Why is it absolutely essential that everybody who joins you on your mission, on your purpose, on your vision, on your dreams journey, must absolutely understand the story underlying who you are and what you do and why you're here? I'm in America. This is America. This is remarkable. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you the founder's story. Let me tell you a completely apolitical story. Let me tell you why this country was built on one human being, an individual, an American citizen, a person who lives here, breathes here, grows here, creates here, thrives here, drives here, does ordinary things in the most exceptional way. So an entrepreneur sees exceptions within the ordinary. How do you do that? You learn how to do that. Do you understand? Nobody was born knowing how to do that. Not one of you was born knowing how to become an entrepreneur. Not one of you. Some of you have done it most successfully. Some of you have made some terrible mistakes. Some of you wonder every day that you get up, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Where's the secret to all this? And then, of course, the fast guys come with the secret, and everybody's peddling the secret. You know that. Everybody's got the secret. Buy my secret, buy my secret, buy my secret, buy my secret. The reality is, if it's a secret, it's a problem. In short, what I discovered, it's no secret at all. It surrounds us. All you have to do is to look for it. And where do you look for it? In the most successful, obvious companies on the planet. That's why I say every single one of us must thrive to become Ray Kroc. To me, Ray Kroc is the genius of America. A guy at 52 years of age, a peddler of malted milk machines, at 52 years of age, goes out to discover what the McDonald brothers had created that enabled them to buy so many multi-mixer malted milk machines. He asked himself, what are these guys doing? Now get this, he's 52. How old are you? He's 50 freaking 2 years of age, and he's curious. Do you know anybody at 52 who's curious, who would drive all the way to freaking San Bernardino, California, to find out what's going on over there, why they're using multi-mixer malted milk machines? I don't know anybody at 52 who's curious. I know a lot of people at 52 who just want to sleep. Anybody know what I'm talking about? You might even have some of them working for you. Ray Kroc went to San Bernardino and just watched. And what he saw was astonishing. What he saw was astonishing. So he went in to McDonald's to talk to the McDonald brothers. And his first question was, have you ever franchised McDonald's? And their answer was, no, we tried it, but it doesn't work. Hear this. McDonald's can't be franchised. That was the answer the McDonald brothers gave him. And they pointed to their house up on the hill, overlooking their store. You understand? They were so anal, they had to keep on watching it 24 hours a day, lest it runs away from them. They realized that only we can do it. Only we can do it. So Ray Kroc, at 52 years of age, says, what if I were to do it? Would you give me the rights? Would you give me the rights to franchise McDonald's? And of course, it took a little convincing. Now understand, here's a guy, 52 years old, pitching the owners of McDonald's to give him the franchise rights to McDonald's. He'd never franchised anything in his life. You understand, it wasn't as though he were expert on franchising. It wasn't that at all. He was just an enthusiastic piano player who also sold multi-mixer malted milk machines. I mean, he had nothing going for him. Do you understand? Other than his ribald enthusiasm, his heart, his passion. And he convinced the McDonald brothers to give him the franchise rights to McDonald's. So he had to open his first store. Now, I told you this story, I think yesterday. Was it yesterday? Just yesterday? Yeah. I told you this story before. You understand, a gentleman said to me, tell me something new, tell me something new. I was there yesterday. I'm simply saying, I'm going to tell you the same damn thing and hope that you really hear it this time. He opened his first store. He had to borrow the money to do it. But here's the important thing. When he opened his first store, he opened up his office down the street. Now hear me. Every single one of you who started your business, when you opened your first store, you were in it, weren't you? Yes. Doing it, busy, 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 busy. You were your first business. And you were there because you had to be there. You had to be there to make certain it worked. But of course, it wasn't certainty that it worked. It was certainty that you worked because you were your business. Now hear me, and don't take this negatively. I don't want to piss anybody off. I really don't, but I really do. It's not your business if it depends upon you. Now you might say, yeah, but Michael, you're our speaker. In short, you are doing it. And you're freaking 82. You got to understand, the very first thing we did way back in 1977, when we started our company, when we wrote our story, when we determined what our dream, our vision, our purpose, and our mission were at the Michael Thomas Corporation, which was the name of our company, and I was Michael and he was Thomas, and it was a business development firm, and it was the very first business coaching company on the planet. Hear me, the very first business coaching company on the planet, and our dream was to transform the state of small business worldwide. Write that down. And our vision was to invent the McDonald's of small business consulting. And our purpose was that every single one of our clients could become as successful as a McDonald's franchisee if they followed our system. And our mission was to invent the business development system at the heart of it. We believed, and I believe today because we have done it literally hundreds of thousands of times, we believe that our system can be applied to every single company on the planet. And if our system can be applied to every single company on the planet, and if you in fact learn it, are inspired by it, are trained to use it, and are motivated and continually inspired to master it, Every single thing that has happened to us and happened to Ray Kroc and has happened to 1-800-GOT-JUNK and has happened to BNI and has happened to McDonald's and has happened to Apple and has happened to every single scalable company can happen to every single one of you. Every single one of you. So hear me. Our dream was to transform the state of small business worldwide. That gives you then a formula, doesn't it? So you can now say, our dream, not my dream, our dream, our dream, our dream, our dream is to transform the state of blank worldwide. Why worldwide? Because you're going to scale it. How are you going to scale it? By simply replicating it. How are you going to replicate it? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Do you understand? There is no secret. Been doing this for 40 years with millions of tiny, tiny companies. And now with the launch of Radical You, we're going to do it with everyone. We're going to do it with high school dropouts. We're going to do it with college dropouts. We're going to do it with returning veterans. We're going to do it with underemployed moms who got 3 kids. We're going to do it with unemployed folks who got no kids. We're going to do it with every single human being on the planet to awaken and inspire the entrepreneurial fever within every single human being in the world. It said, we're born in the image of God. What is it that distinguishes human beings from every other living thing on the planet? We're born in the image of God. I believe that. And if we're born in the image of God, it makes sense then we're born to create. If, in short, every single one of us are born in the image of God, the Creator, with a capital C, that means that every human being was born to create. Every single one of you was born to create. Well, what were you born to create? You were born to create. We were born to create. All of us were born to create a world fit for God. What does a world fit for God look like? It looks something different from what we're doing every day. And the minute you realize that, the minute you absorb that, the minute you internalize that, you understand your company is your version of the world fit for God. It's what you were born to create. And then the question becomes, so how do I develop the ability to create? The gift I was given from God. I have a vision, I have a dream, I have a vision, I have a purpose, I have a mission. Our vision was to invent the McDonald's of small business consulting. Why McDonald's? Why should you emulate McDonald's? All you got to do is drive over to McDonald's and you'll see why. Little sucker works. The little sucker works. The little sucker works. The sucker has been replicated over 37,000 times throughout the world. But you can say, I don't like the food. Who cares? They've sold on the sign billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of them. How in the world do you do that in the hands of kids with a 300% annual personnel turnover? Are you kidding me? The sucker works with kids who haven't a clue. And you think, I got to get better people. I got to get better people. I got to get better people. And everybody tells you, it's your people, stupid. It's your people, stupid. It's your people, stupid. Hear me, it's not your people, stupid. It's your system, stupid. Yeah. To the degree you fail to see that, you fail to understand what scaling truly means and why you have to open up your office down the street. You have to remove yourself from your business. You have to force yourself to get out of your business. You have to absolutely not show up tomorrow. And understand, by not showing up tomorrow, you have to ask the question, then what's going to show up without me? And what's going to show up without you is the brilliant system you're going to create. The lead generation system, the lead conversion system, the client fulfillment system, the turnkey management system, the turnkey leadership system. Any dummy can do this. But there's a way to do this. Everybody doesn't have to figure out the way to do this. That's the beauty of it. Ray Kroc already did. Steve Jobs already did. Do you understand? We already did. And now, with Radical You, we're bringing it to you, to everyone. Just think, 5 years, Radical You, to get a degree called Masters of Business Design, and a 5- and 8-fold path through which you can discover what everybody thinks is a secret, but isn't. It's right there online, ready and waiting for anybody who truly wishes to learn what it is I've learned over the past 40 years. Understand, by applying it, by applying it, by applying it, by applying it. Not by thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. By applying it, by applying it, by applying it, by applying it. Now you get to do it too. I'll give you the 8-fold path very quickly. The first step in the 8-fold path is the dream. You got to have one. The second step in the 8-fold path is the vision. You got to have one. Third step in the 8-fold path is the purpose. You got to have one. The fourth step in the 8-fold path is the mission. You got to have one. The dreamer has a dream, the thinker has a vision, the storyteller has a purpose, the leader has a mission. I said that before. I repeat myself just to make sure you heard myself when I said it the first time, the second time, the third time, and the fourth time. The fifth step is the job. So now we're actually going to take the dream, the vision, the purpose, and the mission and translate it into action. The fifth step is the job, and the job, at the heart of the job, is your client fulfillment system. Hear me, it's what you sell. It's what you do every single day on behalf of whomever your customer is. The sixth step is your practice. Now get this. Now you have a client fulfillment system. Now you've got, in quotes, the job turnkey. Now it's the heart of everything you do, just like McDonald's, just like Starbucks, just like every extraordinary turnkey, replicable, scalable company on the planet. All you need to do to learn this is walk into McDonald's. All you need to learn this is walk into Starbucks. All you need to do to learn this is walk into Radical You. We'll show you step by step by step by step how it's done, so you can do it too. Now the practice. What's the practice? The practice is the client acquisition system. Lead generation, lead conversion, client fulfillment. What is lead generation, lead conversion, client fulfillment? It's your franchise prototype. Hear me. Every single company on the planet will only grow exponentially to the degree it understands that you're actually preparing to franchise. Understand, doesn't matter what you do, you're going to franchise it. What does it mean you're going to franchise it? You're going to create a turnkey system for doing it. Not going to get really creative people. You're going to create a really creative system that enables really uncreative people to produce absolutely stunning results. Holy moly, I can do that too. Just like 1-800-GOT-JUNK did. This is how we do it, this is how we do it, this is how we do it. Now you can do it too. What is it? It's about a $370 million a year business. All built on the E-Myth Revisited. Brian Scudamore was doing about $500,000 a year in revenue, picking up junk. He had 11 employees, and he suddenly came face to face with the reality that he didn't know how to lead, he didn't know how to run a business, he didn't know how to do what he was doing, so he decided to shut it down and fire all his people. Now think about the courage that took. Here's a guy who's somewhat successful as a small business owner. He realized, I don't know how to do this. It's obvious. I'm not enjoying myself. I don't even like my people. And my people don't like me. Something's missing in this picture. So he sat down with them all and said, today is the most important day of the rest of your lives. It's the day I'm firing all of you. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to go away for 3 days and figure it out. But when I come back, you won't be here. I'm starting anew. Thank you for your service. And that was the end of Old Co. Think about this. Think of the courage. Now, Brian tells the story of what he did. He created a one-page dream, vision, purpose, and mission in those 3 days. But what he absolutely did in those 3 days is he read the E-Myth Revisited 2 times. He'd never read a book on business. First of all, he doesn't read at all. So in short, he doesn't read books. He hates books. But he read my book 3 times. And they made a commitment to himself, and now I'm going to go do what I just read and start my business anew. That was the founding of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Hear me. He read a book. You can hear Brian tell that story. And in fact, you can read Brian's story in his new book. And it's called WTF. Question mark, exclamation mark. Willing to fail, in case you didn't know what WTF means. Willing to fail. And it's the story of how we did this. It's a brilliant book. You got to read it. Okay? So, my message to every single one of you, there's a way to do, in fact, what every single one of you desire to do. And that is to transform the state of the world. To transform the state of the world in a way only blessed entrepreneurs are empowered to do. That's the heart of America. That's the heart of our founders' days. They were founding a great entrepreneurial enterprise. And that great entrepreneurial enterprise has led the world. And unfortunately, it's being led the wrong way. Now you can lead it from the street. And every single one of you can lead it from the street. But you got to follow the way, because the way is critical. You understand, the passion is insufficient to get you there. But once you've got the way to do it, you've suddenly been gifted with something you weren't born with. Welcome to Radical You. I want to give you all a gift, and you write this down. You can immediately access it. It's a gift to my latest book. And my latest book, beyond the book we're going to be talking about shortly. And the name of that latest book is Making It on Your Own in America, or wherever you happen to live. A Journey Toward Radical Self-Employment. It's from a company of 1 to a company of 1,000. And it's a gift from Luz Delia and I. And here's how you get it. freebook.michaelegerber.com. freebook.michaelegerber.com. Sign up, and you got it. And then, hear me, read it. Because at the heart of making it on your own in America and radical self-employment is the curriculum at Radical U. That's what we teach at Radical U. So if anybody here has been inspired at all by my conversation about Radical U, I invite you to join us in Radical U. And Radical U can be found at radicalu.com. Check it out. Sign up. Just do it. It'll blow your ever-loving mind. So I want to bring up my co-author of our other new book. Now, we keep on writing new books, and I just can't help myself. But Fred Parrish came to me, was introduced to me by a close associate of ours. And Fred Parrish is a chief financial officer. And he's been a chief financial officer with multi-billion-dollar enterprises and with sole proprietorships. He's been a key creator of a system that lies at the heart of the most critical operating function in every company. I said yesterday, I'll repeat it today, we have worked with over 100,000 small business clients since I started my company in 1977. And we have never found in any one of those 100,000 plus clients a chief financial officer. Ever. Not once. So when Fred came to me and said, I'm a chief financial officer, I said to him, it must be lonely. Because nobody I know has one. But of course, anyone here who's created a large and vastly growing enterprise has what you believe to be a chief financial officer. I want to introduce you to a real one, and then I want to invite you to read our book, The E-Myth Chief Financial Officer, Why Most Small Businesses Run Out of Money and What to Do About It. Fred?
Thanks, Michael.
My pleasure.
How do you follow that? I think I have the toughest job in the world.
You don't, you just do it. You just do it, Fred.
Yeah, and Michael and I met about 2.5 years ago, and on that call, we talked for about 5 or 6 minutes, and we just talked about what we were doing and how we were going about it, and he said, okay, well, call me next week. And it's been 2.5 years of a lot of things since then.
Yes.
But my relationship to Michael, my connection to him, actually started in 1973. Never met him, never heard of him. He hadn't even written the E-Myth yet. But I went to work for McDonald's as a sophomore in high school. And the first week that I was on the job...
Let me ask you a question.
How many of you have worked for McDonald's as a kid? Hands?
There's 2 of them.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay, for everyone who has never done that, the first week on the job, you spend in the basement of the store. You don't touch anything, you don't do anything, you don't talk to anyone. You're watching, at least in my day, it was film. That was way before videotape. And reading manuals about making hamburgers and French fries and milkshakes and addressing customers. And then once you go upstairs to the real world and start working, it is amazing how efficiently that company runs. Tens of thousands of places around the world. And in part of my career, I had the opportunity to travel a lot around the world. And every time I'd go to a new country, I made it a point to go and see a McDonald's. They are all exactly the same. And so that experience, combined with my obsessive compulsive personality, is really what has brought us here with the book that Michael and I just wrote. And that is really taking something that most people think is some thing that happens in a black box and numbers come spitting out. But there is a process, there is a system with which you can do that. And the reality of a small business is that if you are not big enough to have a true CFO, and if you're not paying your CFO, at least in this area, $250,000 a year, you do not have a real CFO. If you are calling your bookkeeper your CFO because you think the bank likes that, they know better.
Let me say, your accountant isn't your CFO.
Right.
Your bookkeeper certainly isn't your CFO. Your CFO is playing a true strategic role next to your CEO, your COO, your CTO, your CIO. And if there is no CFO immersed in that process, you're heading for a disaster. Simply that. Now, when it's said that there are over 500,000 new companies started in this country every year, but that 90% of them fail within 5 years. The SBA tells us that. The SBA tells us that. I'm not telling you that. Hear me. 9 out of 10 small companies fail within 5 years of startup. Then you begin to understand and begin to ask the question, so what is it that causes those companies to fail? Well, I just introduced you to what it is that causes those companies to fail. Those companies are all, the vast majority of them, dependent upon the person who creates them. The small business owner. That wonderful, mythic creature we all talk about, who hasn't a clue. Hasn't a clue. Now hear me, hasn't a freaking clue about what to do. Other than, if she's an accountant, she does accounting. If she's a landscape contractor, she's a landscape contractor. You understand? If she's a real estate agent, she's a real estate agent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what they think they know how to do. But they don't have a system for doing it. Nor do they have a CFO to turn to and say, what's this going to cost me? In short, every single decision being made every single day in your company is a financial decision. Every decision is a financial decision. To not understand the implications of that, you suddenly come face to face with the true ruination of most small companies.
Yeah, exactly. And what Michael said, what is this going to cost me? That is a very different question than you think it is. That question, what is it going to cost me? Most everyone thinks about what is it going to take in cash or expense today. The real question is, what is it going to cost me 6 months, a year, 5 years down the road? And therein lies the issue. Because, as Michael said, your accountant, your CPA, your bookkeeper are not your CFOs. Unfortunately, in most small companies, you are the CFO, whether you like it or not. Because if you don't have one, you're it. And you need to understand what that means and what you have to do in order to manage that process as effectively as possible. Because the reality of accounting, it's not going to make your company great. Accounting has not made one company great in the history of the world. In fact, the accounting department is where financial information goes to die. I've lived there, I've watched it. In fact, I probably have participated in it at some point. What we need to do is get that information out of those financial statements and turn it into operational intelligence and put it to work. Put it to work to give you clarity about where you're going. And there is a process and a system that you can implement that anybody can do. As Michael was saying earlier, anybody can do this. It is a very specific, a very, in some cases, detailed, but a very doable and replicatable system. You establish your targets, you evaluate your performance against those targets, you adjust where you need to adjust, and then you go back and do it again. But it's that process of how you go through those 3 steps that is so important. And again, the idea that you are your CFO. You can no longer give that responsibility to anyone else. And I will tell you, most small business owners are at risk of making a fatal decision at any moment for one reason. And that is because we've all been conditioned for decades to believe that anyone that has the three-letter CPA hanging off the end of their name, and I hope I don't offend anyone in the room, that they are an expert in everything financial. They're bright and capable professionals in almost every case. But that does not make them your advisor for your business. And normally, and usually, what they are doing is compliance work. They're doing debits and credits and tax returns. The business owners over here are trying to run the business, and they're looking that direction. The CPA has their head down debits, credits, tax returns. And there's this huge gap between those two mindsets that the business owner is thinking, something happens in my business, that CPA is going to tell me that's going on. We're going to fix it. We're good. CPA's head down, debits, credits, tax returns. Nobody is watching the gap. And I can tell you, I have watched it happen hundreds of times where companies have gone out of business completely unnecessarily. Because here is a good example. If you have a $50,000 problem and you need to address that $50,000 problem, if you have 10 months to address that $50,000 problem, that's a $5,000 a month issue that you have to manage, right? If you see that $50,000 problem, you have 30 days to deal with it. Now you have a $50,000 problem. That's the difference between proactive and reactive management. The proactive management means that you've got to have clarity about where you are going and how you're going to get there and what that means in terms of what it's going to cost you. Because there is a lot that happens between taking an action and getting a result. And if you don't understand the dynamics, what's going on in the economy today? Economy's pretty good, right? Seems to be. Well, now the stock market is being affected by the fact that the global economy is not as good as it is here. So now everyone's afraid that that is going to be a contagion coming back to the U.S. Oil prices were up. Now they're down. Now OPEC says they're going to stop producing as much, so prices are going to go back up. Interest rates are going up. The labor market is so tight that the unemployment rate is the lowest in almost 50 years. There was a report that just came out yesterday that said the wages have increased just in October 0.3%. Now think about that. On an annual basis, that's 3.6. We haven't been there for at least a decade. So if you think about your company and what just those 5 things are going to do to your company, because those 5 things will impact every company on the planet. If you think about it, oil, that will affect everything that moves around the world. Labor rates, that's going to affect the biggest expense that is in every company on the planet. Interest rates, that's going to determine how much you can borrow and what it's going to cost you. So you take that and dump it on top of everything else you have going on, and what does that do to you 6 months, a year, or 5 years down the road? And how do you react to that? That is the major question that we address with our new book. And it is the process and the system by which you are able to do that. You are able to do that. You don't need your accountant to do that. You don't need your CPA to do that. And in most cases, they wouldn't be able to do it anyway. Again, remember, debits, credits, tax returns. That's not looking forward. That is historical. That's scorekeeping. That's like driving down the highway out here at 70 miles an hour looking out your back window. Now just visualize that for a second. What's going to happen? Eventually you're going to run into something, and it's probably not going to be very pretty.
And let me say that, and that was the impetus for creating what Fred has created in his CFO software. So understand now, every single small company on the planet can become and possess the intelligence of a chief financial officer. And that CFO software is available through subscription at only $49 a month. So we reduced a immensely expensive capability to making it available to everyone. Now suddenly you have the opportunity, read the book, The E-Myth Chief Financial Officer. You'll understand the relationship between the Chief Financial Officer, the Chief Executive Officer, the founder, the creator, the Imagineer, and all of these things we've been talking about. And in fact, how to organize that financially in such a way that you're on top of it every single minute of every single day of the year. That's an immense promise, but it's real. It's a wonderful thing. So Fred, I want to thank you. And everybody, let's thank Fred for being here and being alive. And we're opening up the session for questions if anybody has one. You can aim it at Fred, you can aim it at me, but please, you have to say it loudly enough so we can hear it. Yes, sir.
Great. Justin Martin, Johnson Martin Law Firm. We're in a business that I read your book years ago. Even saw you at a Mass Torts Made Perfect out of Las Vegas and came back to my law partner, Michael, and couldn't talk enough about we needed to get out of the office. And since we've done that, but one of the challenges that we face is that we're not in the, and forgive me for saying it this way, we're not in the widget business. And so McDonald's, while it's a good example and on point for systematizing productivity and systematizing all the various stages of business, where I think we have challenges is every single case that we have is a unique case.
This is the longest question I've ever received in my entire life.
Good. And it's probably one of the best.
Yes.
One of the things that we need to know is how do you better systematize a custom manufacturing process? Every case is different. Every client is different. And so the knowledge gaps that we have between employees, we try to, put those at the right level. But how do you systematize the custom manufacturing process?
Repeat the question.
Again, the toughest job in the world, right?
When everything's different, how do you create something?
Right, exactly. How do you systematize?
That's what I got out of your question. When everything's different, how do you create something the same? So understand everything's different because that's a decision you made. You made the decision to run a business where everything's different. So you created the problem in the very beginning. I'm saying you start this anew with addressing what I call TWO, capital T-W-O, capital C-O. TWO is old co and new co. Old co is the condition you've got. New co is the solution to it. New co is what you go to work on to invent the company that in fact completely annihilates the problem you've got, because it's what you truly are in business to do. And of course, then you follow the process that we provide you with in order to invent that system. Old co is three things. It's lead generation, lead conversion, client fulfillment. You go to work on old co to turnkey the most essential ingredients of your current company, where most of the money is, and you get rid of everything else. You don't do that immediately, you do that over time. And we have done that over and over and over again, and suddenly the problems all go away. Understand they're problems of your own making. Let's do this, let's do this. They need that, they need this. Everybody's different. Everybody needs something different. And so it began to shape your company into this chaotic endeavor that you've created it to be. I'm saying keep it simple, stupid. You got it? Yep. Now, if you want the answer to how to keep it simple, stupid, go to Radical U and suffer through 5 years with me. It's only $479.40. Anybody can spend that right now. You understand? It's a year. But understand the first year is to awaken the entrepreneur within you in a way that you'll know the answer to your question as you begin to discover what your dream, your vision, your purpose, and your mission are. You're going to reinvent your life and the chaos that exists in it. That's the opportunity. What an extraordinary opportunity. You got it?
Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Real loud.
Real loud. Being an advocate, if you were, a slow learner, and seeing this twice because it was so nice I had to see it twice, so to speak, so I had to come back today. However, during the day, back in the day when SBA gave some stats around small business failures being around 50%, 1 in 2 companies back, well, I'm not going to date myself, but back in that day, now they're saying 90% of the companies are 1 in 9 in 10, so to speak. What has caused the escalation in businesses, small companies, going out of business?
What's caused the escalation of business failure over the years? Before it was only this percentage failed, and now it's this percentage fails. The world has become more complicated. At the same time, automation has created more significant competition. So effectively, the creation of great scalable companies has destroyed unscalable companies. In short, because Amazon can replicate retailing in such a significant way globally, it in fact has put all of its competition, in quotes, out of business. So then the question becomes, so how does a small business compete with those kinds of competitors? And my answer is exactly the same. In short, the good news is when you awaken the entrepreneur within, when you truly become entrepreneurial in the way that I'm describing it, you'll discover the path. It just becomes so obvious. And you say to yourself, how come I never thought about that before? How come I never thought about that before? How come Jerry didn't? How come Judy didn't? How come Jimmy didn't? The answer is stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. And it's simple in a system. And you have to become known for one thing. So hear this, you've got to become known for one thing. You'll note, not adding to the menu, adding to the menu, adding to the menu, adding to the menu. We got to get more, we got to get more. No, you got to get less. And then you got to be better at it. You got to get less and you got to be better at it. Focus, 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 focus. I have a dream, I have a vision, I have a purpose, I have a mission. I'm in the business to transform the state of small business worldwide. And how do I do that? By providing them with a turnkey system that they can apply. Step 1, step 2, step 3, you follow me, to do exactly what needs to be done. No coach can compete with us. No consultant can compete with us. No expert can compete with us. You understand? Because the expert is the expert is the expert about everything. And we have to become expert in one thing. And the one thing we're expert in is scaling a small company from 1 to 1,000. And this is how you do it. And everybody who truly desires to do that knows where to get it. You got it? Got it. Any questions? We've lost quite a few people. They had to go work, obviously. Anybody have a question? Thank you. A delight being here. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye.